There's more to Laventille than meets the eye, and today we meet a former PNM senator and Laventille activist who spent most of his career finding hope and talent here in this community. Meet Muhummad Shabazz. I'd first like to start off by asking you, how was it, or what was it that got you into politics?
Well, I can't say of one main factor, but I could tell you that I grew up from a youth. When I was 7 years old, the People's National Movement came into power. And it seemed as though it was really a movement at the time. And people like my parents and they followed this movement. I used to go to meetings with them, be on the shoulders, on my father's shoulder, and listen to the politicians for long hours. And I used to like how they're talking and how the people used to react to them, and felt that one day I would like to be a politician.
So what were your school days like? How were you at school?
Well, I was always very positive, very strong-minded and all of that. I did pretty well in my school work, but I had another incident where I'd failed exam, common entrance, the first common entrance. I didn't have another chance, and because my father felt I would never get to go to college, in those days you could go and talk to the politicians. And I went and I spoke to Robert Wallace. They were more, you could have meet them easier. And from there I went to the Minister of Education. He gave me a letter, and I went to get into Trinity, but I didn't get in. And then I went to St. Mary's, and I sat down in a class, bought monograph, and went in a class until they threw me out. And I then went to Eric Williams. There's a story about that. And Eric Williams sent me back to Illinois, and the next year I went to college. Robert Montano had promised me when they were selecting for the police service, he would help me to go in there. So when I was 18 years old, in 1968, I joined the police service. And I decided to put on my gun, and I went on to sell insurance. I was a very good insurance salesman.
Born as Lloyd Gray, he grew up under the strong influence of his father, who drove a taxi in the Laventille community. In 1972, he changed his name by the poll to one that is greatly loved and appreciated, Muhammad Akbar Shabazz.
It was always a praying family, and my father did a lot of work, with the taxi driving in the Laventille Passy Street area, and he was always a favorite. In those days, when you say a favorite, everybody loved to travel with him, the children, the old people. Even when he died, the funeral was a big funeral, and even my sister doing community work with the Adventist Church. Our other sister doing community work with the Anglican Church in Mover. And from there, we had a parlor here also. And from there, we, Shabazz, took the mantle on to serve in his community and, and the country as a senator.
Being an opposition senator, mostly on all the bills you got the opportunity to speak. So I felt that I had talked well in the Senate. As a matter of fact, 3 things that had happened that I remember. One is that I fought with, well, I didn't have to fight, he was very cooperative, Minister Theodore as Minister of National Security, to get the SRPs to become members of the regular service, and to get, Eddie Hart was in that fight with me, and to get the soldiers to get their back pay. And I also feel good about one thing. I was able to, the policemen at the time in the Parliament never used to get meals. Everybody else used to get. And I was able to fight. I used to bring meals out for them until I was able to talk to the president and get meals for them.
Shabazz was a strong voice in the Opposition Senate during the 5th Republican Parliament, from the mid-90s to the year 2000. During his most active years as senator, between 1998 to 2000, Shabazz debated over 40 bills, ranging from the Adoption of Children Bill, the Minimum Wage Bill, the Legal Aid and Advice Bill, Police Complaints Authorities Bill, Tourism Development Bill, and the Trinidad and Tobago National Steel Orchestra Bill. So Mr. Shabazz, tell us about how you used to walk and talk in your community.
Well, I grew up inside here. I live in here for 50 years, coming to 50 years.
Yes.
And I grew up inside of here. I like to relate to the people. I like to talk and give people hope, but more talk with by achieving things to show them that we could do things, and that's the message I want to bring to communities like ours. As a matter of fact, you know, well, people refer to these buildings like the project, and this building area is really one of the building areas that are very safe then. You know, the young people, they grow up with that love. We spread that message of hope.
So what changes have you seen in the community as a result?
Well, I've seen a number of changes. In spite of the crime, I see a number of young people wanting to do better. And this is why I keep fighting for opportunities to them. Because if we get the opportunities, you know, that young generation that we have seen today, I think they will be far better than how they have been.
And do you use sports to help bring about this change?
Well, sports, you know, most of my community work was done in Success Laventil with people like Rapper, Farrell, Jamal. We ran the first pro netball league in Laventil. We had lights in the schoolyard, and we did a great job.
So how old are you now, Mr. Shabazz?
62 years old.
And what keeps a 62-year-old man going like
well,
this?
That vision that something good is going to happen. And I want to see at Trinidad and Tobago. And in this light, I think we've been doing well because we have about 3 doctors that come out of this community.
I see.
So we're proud of it.
I have learned from Muhummad Shabazz that the more I know is the more I know how much I do not know. That's what I've learned from Muhummad Shabazz. And this has come about after a friendship of more than 30 years in which I have been trying very hard to get rid of him, but I'm unable to. And the reason why I am unable to is because he is the only person that makes me believe that I am worth something and that I have something of value.
Yeah, on the campaign trail, Shabazz was very interested because Shabazz had the ability to interact with the politicians but yet keep his foot on the ground with the grassroots people. You know, he used to be real interested. People always wanted to hear what he had to say because most of his message was positive message concerning the community that we live in and always try to elevate the people that he live around, you know.
Growing up with Daddy was very, very memorable. He has taught me some of life's greatest lessons. One of them, put God first and everything else will fall into place. He's also instilled a confidence in me that has really helped me throughout my adult life. And one of the things that I admire most about him is his honesty. He's a man to his word, you know. What he says, he does.
And also another thing he always said in his efforts to help in ghetto is to help the ghetto, you have to be in it. And he always vowed never to move out of the ghetto because really if you move out of the ghetto, you never know the true problems that take place within the ghetto. So yeah, he always said that.
Yeah, another important quote that I always remember he would say is that if it is to be, it is up to me. And that kind of instilled independence in me and is something that I remember throughout.
Yeah, that's true. And we use it now with our children too, you know. We have kids and especially what Damali just said, you know, he taught us how to be independent.
What was the highlight of your political career?
Well, I've done a number of things, but for me, my proud moments are when I reach out to people, when I help people, when I do things to see people change. As a matter of fact, I have a little daughter that I basically adopted, who won Island Scholarship from Bishops, and she's now always studying, you know, things like that. When I help others, I feel those are proud moments. We go into the Senate, and you know, that was a nice one too, because although Hines was the first Rastafari ever went to Parliament, I was the first Rastafari ever went to the Senate. You know, so things like that. But my proud moments are really when I reach out to people and see them achieve, because I believe that God gives us power to empower others.